Hi, today I'm excited to share with you a new Staycation junk journal entry. I'm going to share with you my visit to the Harry S. Truman Library. Let's get started. So here you can see I kind of already put together my layout. I wasn't sure how long it would take me to do that. So in future videos, I might do the layout with you guys. But I got a postcard, I have a receipt, I have the museum guide, and then some pictures that I printed out on printer paper, and they're not photograph paper. I am going to use the front and backs of these pages that I cut and trimmed down, and I already put in the hole punches in them. But I'm going to share with you a little bit about the museum as I go. We did not stop at a whole lot of the exhibits. I would like to go again sometime. I went with my daughter. She's in upper elementary, and she, at this age, just wasn't super interested in the history in the museum, but it was very rich in history, and it was very cool. So I will share with you some other information other than what I have pictured here. I'm going to move this paper aside, careful as I can. And I'm just going to start with this one. Go move those off. So here I have the museum guide, and I like to use double-sided tape to attach my items. So I'm going to do that. Here's the back of it. It just kind of gives you like information about stairs and accessibility. So I'm not super interested in keeping that. But just basic information. The museum is in Independence. And it is open from 9 to 5. Monday through Saturday, but on Sundays they're open from noon to 5. So you could visit it during those times. They have some special exhibits, and right now their special exhibit is Upset Harry Truman in the 1948 election, May 30th, 2024 through February 1st of 2025. So this one will be going on for a while if you were interested in seeing it. We did go through that part, and it was very interesting. But like I said, I did not get very many pictures just because my daughter is wanting to get through it. Admission. Like I said, if you're in the area, you can use a library card at your local library and pick up a pass if they have one available. Oh, I guess I didn't say that. I had filmed myself earlier, sorry. And then I started refilming, but I haven't shared that with you. In our area, if you are in the Kansas City area, you can go to the library and you can get a museum pass for up to 4 people, and you can get in for free. And then you'll just take this pass and show it to them, and then you'll return that pass to your library. But if you do not have that, it is $12 for adults, $10 for seniors 62 and older, $10 for veterans or military retired disabled, $8 for college students with your ID, $5 for kids 13 through 18, and then free for children 12 and under. So and you can just visit the store without having to pay for visiting the museum. So if you just want to pop in and see the store, you could do that. All right, so I'm just going to pull the rest of this tape off, and then I'm going to put this on my page. Now that is in there. So here I have the receipt for my library pass. So I have that, and I'm going to include that in here. My information's on the top, so I went ahead and covered that up for now. And then here's just the entrance to the museum. But while I'll put these in, I was going to share with you a couple of the gallery highlights. So one gallery they have is called Plow to Politics. And on April 12th, 1945, Harry Truman received an urgent call. President Franklin Roosevelt was dead. Truman was a farmer, a war veteran, a failed haberdasher, and a county judge. He was a little-known senator from Missouri and vice president for just 82 days. Now he was the president of the United States. The world was at war, and the country questioned if he was ready. To meet the challenges that lay ahead, Truman leaned on his Midwestern background, strong values, diverse life experiences, and a close personal relationships. So it just kind of talks about that time of his life when he became president unexpectedly. Another exhibit is the Eye of the Storm. President Roosevelt had shared little with his vice president. President Roosevelt had shared little with his vice president. Now Truman faced some of the most momentous decisions ever put before an American president. On the day he was sworn in, President Truman was shaken and uncertain. He had to learn on the job. By August, he was more confident and resolute. The decisions he made in those chaotic 4 months ended the Second World War and foreshadowed the immense new challenges of the post-war. So they have a whole section about that period of his life. I'm trying to get this tape peeled off. I love double-sided tape, but sometimes it's hard to get the backing off. Okay. And then I want to make sure it's centered and as straight as I can get it. There you go. That's good. All right, another section they have is post-World War, or post-war world, excuse me. The end of World War II did not slow the pace of the challenges that Harry Truman faced. Much of Europe and Asia lay in ruins, ravaged by starvation and economic collapse. As the only nation to emerge stronger after the war, the United States took the lead. The Soviet Union had suffered catastrophic losses. After the war, it seized control of Eastern Europe to bolster its industries and to create a buffer against future attacks. Truman aggressively sought to counter Soviet expansionism. This, and preventing a Third World War, became his top foreign policy objectives. Tensions between the two nations gave rise to the Cold War. So there's that section. And all of these, I mean, the displays are, I think, really eye-catching. They use like digital views. It's floor to ceiling. It's really cool to see. So if you're into history, I think it's a really great, really cool museum to come check out. All right, my last picture I have to put on is the entrance. And then this little page is done. Slip that there. And that there. So yeah, I grew up in the Kansas City area. And I believe my brothers took field trips to the Truman Library, but I never had in school. And my mom had just made the comment that she was really surprised I'd never been before. And so that's kind of what interested me to go ahead and check the pass out from the library and go check it out, because I have lived here and I had not seen it before. So there we go. There's my first page layout for the museum. And I'm going to move to the back side of this. And I have this picture of a Thomas Hart Benton painting, and I'll talk about that. In the gift shop, they have a picture of Truman with Queen Elizabeth, and then they sell some little crowns, and I just thought that was really cute. And outside, they have a, I believe you call it an eternal flame, so a flame that never goes out. And they also have the resting place of Harry Truman and his wife. We did not go outside, but that is out there if you want to go and pay your respects. Here are a couple of interactive places for kids. They don't have a whole lot, which is, I don't think the museum is meant for kids, although it is eye-catching and I thought it was cool. But they had a place where your kids could vote and then submit their ballot, and then another place where they could color or create their own comic, and my daughter really enjoyed that. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on the back now and share a little bit more information with you. I want to give this side some color, so I'm thinking I might do a strip of this underneath the pictures. So I'm going to do that, but let me share with you a couple of more exhibits that they have while I do this. So another exhibit they have there is the recognition of Israel. With Cold War tensions growing and facing a tough re-election campaign, Truman grappled with another issue that would impact American policy for years. After the war, more than 850,000 displaced people, including about 250,000 Jews, could not go home due to ongoing persecution. Allied camps for displaced persons were rife with starvation, disease, and abuse. Displaced Jews sought a home, but many countries, including the United States and Britain, restricted Jewish immigration. Facing a fierce debate within his inner circle of advisors, Truman had to decide whether to put American support behind the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine. In the end, he recognized the new Jewish state of Israel. So they have a section about that. I think I need just a little more tape right there. So I'm going to... This one's almost done, isn't it? We are at the end of this. Let me cut it here. There we go. And I'll put this one here. Okay. Okay, another section they have is called What is Fair? The Boeing Company. So Harry Truman's own modest background, reinforced by his appreciation for the shared sacrifices of ordinary fellow Americans during the Second World War, led him to endorse initiatives favoring the common man over business elites. The idea of fairness was a guiding principle for Truman. After the war, he sought to hold corporations accountable and address inequality. Yet, Congress rejected his ambitious 21-point domestic agenda. In 1948, his growing awareness of racial violence led him to desegregate the military and civilian federal government workforce by executive order. This marked a history turn in the Democratic Party towards support for civil rights. Truman stunned the nation when he won his 1948 re-election campaign as president in his own right. He rebranded his agenda the Fair Deal. So there's a section about that leading up to his second term. Okay, there we go. I think that looks good right there. To make sure I get this one straight across from that one. I did not cut these straight. That's okay though. It's fine. Imperfection. Yeah, this one's done for. And then they have a section on Truman's second term. In 1945, Harry Truman had inherited the presidency upon the death of Franklin Roosevelt. Now in 1948, Truman was elected in his own right, and his party felt energized following a sweeping electoral victory. Inauguration Day showcased Truman's triumph, but it also turned out to be the high point of his second term. The Cold War and domestic opposition darkened the nation's mood. Revelations of spies within the government had grown, and growing anti-communist paranoia emerged as fierce challenges. Truman confronted real threats from abroad and political pressure from the right. His domestic agenda stalled, and new international threats dominated his remaining years in office. And so they have a section discussing that time period of his life. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, frequently when we went on vacation, that's kind of what we did, was we went to museums, and I really liked seeing old artifacts and learning new things. So I'm trying to instill that appreciation into my daughter, but she hasn't quite gotten there yet into fully appreciating all that museums have to offer, but I like it. I'm trying to decide if I want this one to come in the middle, so we kind of have like, you know, big, small setup. I think I like that. I'll do it in that order. I'm going to jump to reading to you guys about this painting real quick. There's some more exhibits to share with you, but I thought I would tell you about the painting. Okay, so Thomas Hart Benton, an American regionalist artist, was born in Neosho, Missouri in 1889. At an early age, Benton looked beyond his storied political familial roots to a career as an artist. Benton was treated to an extensive education that involved many travels. I remember when we went to the state capitol, when I think it's 4th grade, we were all required to go to the Capitol. They have a lot of Thomas Hart Benton paintings, and they're cool looking. I like them. Okay, so Benton was treated, and he had many travels. Okay, he studied at the Chicago Art Institute and the Académie Julian in Paris. I know I said that wrong, sorry. Where he developed his new style. His prominence in the world of art began to take shape in the early 1920s and 30s. Sidney Larson, an artist and friend, recalled he took on high and mighty politics, art education, criticism, or simply privilege. Evident in his early works was a leftist political philosophy, much like his father's, a member of the House of Representatives from 1894 to 1904. They shared an opposition of Eastern bankers, railroad magnates, and industrial capitalists. At one point, Benton was even a card-carrying communist. Oh my. Allowing secret meetings to be held in his home. Benton's great love, however, was in the common man and his plight. His paintings delight in glorifying this backbone of the American consciousness. Known as a great mural painter, Benton created images for the Missouri Capitol Building, the New School for Social Research in New York City, the Power of Authority of the State of New York, and the Indiana Capitol Building. Okay. Independence, Missouri, home of the Truman Library, held a storied past that charmed Benton. Founded in the early 19th century, Independence found its way into American folklore by being known as the last city before the frontier. By the 1830s, it was a bustling center of trade for the Santa Fe and Oregon trails. The 1849 gold rush in California only confirmed its place in history as an icon of the American West. Independence was no stranger to the blood, sweat, and tears that Benton often painted. Sorry, I gotta pay attention to my tape where I'm putting it. When confronted with the idea of painting a mural in the Truman Library, Benton immediately began to conceptualize an idea for independence and the opening of the West that would focus on the history of independence. Benton hoped to generalize the history by depicting no particular events or people, excepting Truman. Truman, however, would have nothing to do with the project that would glorify him personally and requested that he not be put in the picture. After some bantering with President Truman over who should be depicted and other ideas that included Jefferson's democracy, Benton's idea was accepted. Depicting 3 decades, 1817 to 1847, the mural successfully paints a conceptual view of the founding of independence. So this is the painting here. Benton began work on the mural in early 1960, 3 years after the founding of the Truman Library. Out of the mural, a deep and lasting friendship emerged between two of Missouri's most famous sons. In one account, Benton, high on the scaffolding, was listening to the comments of his chief critic and patron below, President Truman. Finally, Benton called down, "If you want to help paint, come up here." "But golly, I will," Truman replied, and he climbed up the platform, seized a brush, and began dabbing blue on the sky. Occasions like this made the president and the artist lifelong friends. President Truman's love of history only confirmed his affinity for the new mural. He once said, "I picked him because he was the best, and this is the finest work by the best." So there's information about the mural that is at the library. Like I said, if you go to the state capitol in Jefferson City, you will also see Thomas Hart Benton paintings. I was not familiar with his background in history. I just knew I could recognize his paintings from what I had seen before. So that was interesting. Like I said, the gift shop had these crowns, which were really cute. So if you have like a fancy dress-up thing you're doing and you need a crown, head to the Truman Library if you're in the Kansas City area. You can pick yourself up a fancy-looking crown. Peel the tape off. Oh, I put this one way too far down, and I don't think I can peel it up. Bummer. Okay, we'll figure out something to do here, because that looks not good. Man. Okay, it peeled up. It did in fact come up. So now I can put it back down. I'm so excited. Okay, there we go. Much better. It's not perfect, but that's a lot more centered than it was. And I realize it's not very centered right now, but okay. Now I'm going to put in the kid activities. Maybe I'll start in the center, and then I won't have this problem. So I will start here, and then I'll work my way up. I think. Yep, that's what I'm gonna do. So this Thomas Hart Benton painting, I believe, if I remember right, it opened up to the section that is about the Trumans in Washington. And they have a room, which I'll show you a picture here in a bit, that shows you what his Oval Office looked like when he was there. I believe that was its point. So for almost 18 years, from 1935 to 1953, the Truman family made their home in Washington, D.C., far from the roots in Independence, Missouri. Harry worked hard to distinguish himself as a senator. Bess adjusted to life in their cramped apartment. Margaret tried to fit in at her new private school. For the Trumans, family was always a centering force. Sometimes called the Three Musketeers, their bond carried them through the years of senatorial politics, a world war, and the presidency. So they have a section dedicated to that. And then, going along with this, they have a section called Understanding Democracy. So, lifelong student of history and civics, Truman believed it essential for all Americans to know how their government works. His presidential library serves as a classroom for democracy, a place where the public can deepen its knowledge of the system and Truman's work within it. In this gallery, visitors can refresh their knowledge of the branches of government, discover what's on the back of his famous "Buck Stops Here" sign, and step into an exact replica of President Truman's Oval Office, where some of the most consequential decisions were made by a world leader. Like I said, I have a picture of that here in a little bit. But here is the little polling station. And I think the questions that were on the poll were something like, what's your favorite day of the week? Something, you know, that kids could answer easily. The courtyard, which was outside. The Truman Courtyard is visited annually by global citizens, leaders, school children, and veterans who wish to pay tribute to America's 33rd president. The burial site for the president and first family, the courtyard also provides access to President Truman's working office. President Truman worked at the library almost daily from 1957 until 1966. He met visiting dignitaries, journalists and entertainers, and students. He read, wrote, and signed thousands of pieces of correspondence. He also directed many library activities. Exhibits at the working office highlight Truman's work in the post-presidential years. Inscribed on the office exterior wall is a quotation from a note Truman wrote in 1953. "The truth is all I want for history." So there's that part. There's also his house in Independence, and I can't remember. You need to go to the Independence Square to get tickets. You can't just go to the house to get tickets to view the house. So if you're wanting to do that as well while you're down there, it's not far from the museum at all. But you do need to go to a separate location to get tickets in order to see his home. But you can go tour his home as well. We did not go do that this time, but we might some other time. And then that could be a separate page, I suppose, in our Staycation junk journal. Oops, I went over the edge. When I do that, I just come back and trim the pieces off like that. So this page is kind of bland. It could use some stickers, or maybe I could use some of my ephemera or my stamps to give it a little something extra. So I'll probably end up coming back to this one, but right now I'm just worried about getting my pictures where I want them, and then I'll come back and embellish it some more. Okay. So there's that page. And now I'm ready to work on this page. Like I said, I'll go back and add some extras to the others. But here's the picture of the Oval Office. So one of the sections, they had this really tall pillar, and it had like copies of letters between Truman and his wife, Bess. And it was called Dear Bess, and it was just really cool to see. And so Bess Truman was born Elizabeth Virginia Wallace in 1885 in Independence, Missouri. She was born into a prestigious Wallace family and grew up in luxury in a Victorian house on Delaware Street. She is best known for being the 33rd First Lady of the United States, where her husband, Harry S. Truman, became president in 1945. Bess and Harry, oops, look at that. I made a boo-boo. See? I make mistakes. That's okay. We can try and fix them. Right? Okay. So, Bess and Harry's relationship began long before they were married, giving this couple a very rich history. Harry Truman was born in Lamar, Missouri in 1884 to a farm family. Whoa, why didn't that come all the way off? I haven't had that happen. Okay. His family moved often, and they came to Independence in 1890. There, Harry met and immediately became smitten with a young Elizabeth Wallace. The two children met in Sunday school at the First Presbyterian Church on the Independence Square. I'm going to go ahead and lay this out because I want to make sure that I don't have a spacing problem. I'll probably go ahead and tape this other blue one down so that, like I said, we don't have a spacing problem. Harry was 6 and Bess was 5. While Harry frequently said that he fell in love with Bess as soon as he met her, she was not as taken with Harry. He worked hard to court Bess for the better part of 30 years. Harry and Bess became engaged in 1917. Their marriage was put on hold until Truman returned from Europe during World War I. But after his return to the United States, they married on June 28, 1918. They welcomed their one and only daughter, Margaret Truman, on February 17, 1924. Bess's life changed drastically when her husband became president following the sudden death of Franklin Delano Roosevelt on April 12, 1945. Bess was not interested in living a glamorous life in the public eye, but wanted to keep living the quiet life that she was used to. One of the distinctive elements of their relationship was the tripping over words. That is not on there straight. Let me try this again. Sometimes I gotta stand up. That helps me get things a little straighter. It's still not straight. It's better than it was, though. Okay. Historians have evidence of this close relationship from a series of letters often referred to as the Dear Bess letters. Harry Truman frequently sought his wife's advice and opinions on his political actions. Bess was also Harry's main speechwriter. Due to her strong influence in his life, Harry gave Bess the nickname the Boss. Bess was very headstrong and was determined to handle being First Lady in her own way. She made her own decisions and ignored some of the traditional roles of the position. She preferred to keep away from the public eye and refused to hold press conferences, like the previous First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, had done. Very interesting. In Harry Truman's Dear Bess letters, he conversed with his wife about his political decisions to a great extent. In fact, Bess became such an integral part of Harry's decision-making process that she grew furious when Harry did not consult her before dropping the atomic bomb on Japan. Their daughter Margaret later wrote that Bess had become a spectator rather than a partner in Harry Truman's presidency. That made her very angry. So they have a whole section about their letters, and which is really cool that they were that close. They were partners and gave each other advice and talked to each other. So that was a neat section to see. Okay. I'm having trouble with getting the tape off again. Okay. There we go. I wonder too, I'm upstairs, and our upstairs is really hot, so I wonder if the temperature up here is causing me problems. I don't know. Okay. So there's the Oval Office. And then I'll stick down the Dear Bess section. The last thing I have pictured here was a section that had 1,000 paper cranes. And I just thought it was so interesting. And there was 1,000 floating, and then there was one that was on display. And so here's kind of the information behind that. 70 years after the end of World War II, and I apologize, I believe it's Sadako, SADAKO, legacy organization donated an original one of her origami cranes to the Harry S. Truman Library Museum on December 19th, 2015. And I believe that's this one here in the center that's on display. But diagnosed with leukemia due to radiation exposure from the 1945 atomic bombing of Hiroshima, this young lady began folding paper cranes in her hospital bed. According to a Japanese legend, if a person folds 1,000 paper cranes, that person is granted one wish. Although she died in 1955, her cranes have come to symbolize world peace and reconciliation. The program will feature remarks by President Truman's grandson, Clifton Truman Daniel, and the young lady's brother and nephew. They performed an original song. It was a historic event at the library, and they have the 1,000 cranes on display. The last piece I have to put in here is my postcard, and I'm going to put it like with washi tape on a hinge. And I thought I wanted it to flip up. I think I want it to flip to this side. And then on this side, I want to write something in here. The day we went, what we liked most, that kind of stuff. So I think I'll go ahead and tape it in, and then I'll write on it. So let me see if I can find some washi tape that I like. Alright, since I've already used blue up here, I found this blue washi tape, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and use this. I'm trying to decide if I want it to hang over, to be exact, or be just a little short. I think I'm going to go with just a little short. Recently I did a add your own on Facebook and Instagram vacation style, or vacation edition, and it was like, you know, your favorite place to travel to, one place you would like to go to, what your favorite souvenir is to pick up when you're traveling, and your favorite mode of transportation. So I said my favorite place to travel so far has been Disney World. And then I would like to travel to Maine sometime and see some lighthouses and the coast. And postcards are my favorite thing to pick up on trips. And my favorite mode of transportation is a road trip. So anyway, so of course I have a postcard that I picked up at the Truman Library when we went. My last piece to put in, I have the bag from my postcard, and inside I stuck this Harry S. Truman Family Fun Guide, so it's just a little activity book, and I just thought this was fun. I picked it up, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to slip this in here and keep it there, and add it to my junk journal spread. I'm just going to tape this on. And then I think I'm done, other than maybe adding some stickers and embellishments. So now I'm going to put my pages from the Harry S. Truman Library into my notebook and just pop them on in. And I've got my first pages in here, which is exciting. I have another one that I need to put together. We went to the Disney exhibit they have at Union Station. And so I was going to share some pictures from going to that. But yeah, this worked out really nice. This is a little plain, so here in a second, I think I'll go ahead and add some stuff to here. don't know that these have anything to do with the Truman Library, you know what I mean? But I just kind of like them, and I think it looks a little better than just all the white space. So there are those. And there you have it. That is my junk journal entry for the Truman Library. If you are into history and that kind of thing, and you're in the Kansas City area, head over to Independence and you can see the Truman Library. And like I said, you could also see his childhood home. Not childhood home, sorry. You could also see his house. But that would be a separate location that's not super far away. But I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
If you would like to see more, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss a video.